All right, continuing on part 3 of our week 10 and chapter 8 homework at this point, we are going to be looking at our ratio that comes from chapter 8, which is the days sales uncollected. And the formula for that is taking accounts receivable divided by net sales times 365 days. So if we look at 2 years of that, we're going to plug in our accounts receivable. They have year 2 listed first, so we're going to plug in 100,000. Net sales was 2,500,000. And it's still times 365 days. And for year 1, it was 85,000 and 2 million times 365 days. And this is one of the very, very, very few times that Connect does not do our math for us. So we're going to have to do it ourselves, where we're going to take that 100,000 divided by 2,500,000 times 365 days, and we come out to 14.6 days. It tells us in the instructions, do not round intermediate calculations, round your days sales collected to 1 decimal place. So we are going to leave that 0.6 in there. And the next one, we're going to take 85,000 divided by 2 million times the 365 again, and we get 15.5 days. So again, this is one of the few times we've done a ratio where Connect isn't doing it for us. So we actually have to do some math here. But it's just following the formula and entering it in. All right, let's look at number 13. This one is just looking at more internal controls, and it's asking you to identify the key documents. I'm going to let you guys do this on your own. What I would say is you just have to make sure it's telling you what to do. So you can't just not click it. So if it's a yes, you're going to click as a positive. If it's a no, you're going to leave it blank, but you have to click. If you leave the question mark, it's going to think that it's blank. So I'll let you guys do number 13 on your own. Number 14 is again going into internal control situations where it's asking you to tell what internal control principle was violated. Again, this goes back to the reading and understanding of our internal control concepts. I want you guys to get very familiar with them, so I'm going to let you guys do this one on your own as well. Going into number 15, again, it's more internal controls. This one's asking you to identify the internal control principle that the company did follow. So it's giving you A through F, and you're just going to choose over here in the drop down the principle that it matches up with. When we look at number 16, this one is asking us to identify whether it's a weakness or a strength, and then identify the internal control principle. So we're going to do this one together just to kind of get some internal control practice in. If we look at this first one, it says determine whether each procedure described below is an internal control strength or weakness, and then identify the internal control principle violated or followed for each procedure. So if it's a weakness, that's going to be what was violated. If it's a strength, it's going to be what was followed. So the first one, it says the same employee requests, records, and makes payments for purchases of inventory. Well, we want to have the separation of duties. So we're going to say that is a weakness, and it is making sure that we establish responsibility and have record. Well, let's read through these. Sorry. The options are applying technological controls, dividing responsibility for related transactions, establishing responsibilities, ensuring assets, and bonding key employees, maintaining adequate records, or performing regular and independent reviews, and then separate record keeping from custody of assets. So in this case, we're looking at a weakness, and the issue is that they need to divide responsibility for our related transactions. The next one, it says the company saves money by having employees involved in operations perform the only review of internal controls. Well, that's also a weakness. We want to make sure that we have regular and independent reviews, not just the people that are involved in those operations. Third, time is saved by not updating records for use of supplies. Well, while we might save time, we could end up in trouble. So that's also a weakness. And what we want to be looking at here is that we're maintaining adequate records. Fourth, the record keeper is not allowed to write checks or initiate EFTs, or electronic funds transfer is what that stands for. So that's a strength because we don't want the person that's doing the records to be able to write the checks. We want to have that separation. So that's a strength. And in that case, we're looking at separating the record keeping from the custody of assets. And then the fifth one, each sales clerk is in charge of his or her own cash drawer. That's to make sure that if there's a shortage, we know who did it, right? So we see a strength, and that is going to be, in that case, we are looking at them being able to be responsible for themselves and only themselves. So to do that, we have to establish responsibility so we know who is responsible for what. All right, that takes us through number 16. Let's look at our next one. Number 17 is looking at some more information, again, controls, and this is good, or whether it's a good or bad cash management strategy. So that one's one you guys are going to read on your own. It does have a reference to the ebook to that area if you need help with those. Number 18 is asking us to determine whether cash receipts is an internal control strength or weakness. So just read through the transactions, see if it's something that's going to be helpful to the company to protect their assets or something that could harm them. Number 19, again, it's looking at cash payment procedures this time to identify whether the cash payments are strengths or weaknesses. Then we're going to be looking at number 20. This is a petty cash fund. Again, we've done an example of that one, so I'm going to let you guys do this one on your own. But it's establishing a petty cash fund, replenishing the petty cash fund, and then this one is actually having another one where we increase the fund. The only difference when we increase it is we're establishing it to a higher level. So you're doing the same entry as you do in number 1, but for the difference between what you started it at and what you want it to be. So that's number 20. And again, we already did an example of the petty cash fund, so refer back to that one if you need help. This one also has the hint, so you can watch the video to walk you through what the expectation is if you're unsure as well. When we look at number 21, this one is also more practice with petty cash fund. So again, we've done these. It is having you look at cash over and short because there's a difference between the amount that we started with and the amount that we ended with. And the receipts don't add up to the total. It tells us that there's a $5 overage. So you're going to use that cash over and short account for that $5 overage. So it's giving you some of the hint of what to do. So that's another one that's good for practice. Number 22 is another one that would be helpful to just kind of go through and look at how it's going to be on the reconciliation. So you're going to look at if it's going to be a bank balance, a book balance, whether it's a debit or credit to the cash account, and whether you're going to see it on the bank reconciliation or not. So you're going to go through those. Again, you have 10 check my works. It does tell you leave no cells blank. If it doesn't apply, put NA where it does not apply. Number 23 is going to be a two-part. This is a bank reconciliation and then the journal entries. So 23 and 24 go together. And we did do a bank reconciliation and journal entry before, so this is going to be another one you guys will do on your own for practice. 24 is the journal entries that go along with number 23. 25 is another bank reconciliation, so we're getting lots of practice with it. It's done the same. And again, this one has the hint button, so you can watch a video to kind of walk you through. It doesn't have the journal entry part, it's just the bank reconciliation. When we look at number 26, this is looking at the voucher system. So it's asking you to identify which document is going to go along with that. So is it an invoice approval, purchase order, requisition, a receiving report, or a voucher? So again, that's just terminology and matching those up. Look at number 27. Again, this is going to be another bank reconciliations for branch company, and it has A through G, so a little more transactions, still the same process. You're going to follow through and do the exact same thing, making sure that you're very comfortable with bank reconciliations when you're finished. This one is going to do the journal entries for it again. Remember, we're only doing journal entries for the book side. If it's a transaction from the bank side, then it's going to be listed as no journal entry required. The last one is going to be the tableau. So you're giving tables and it's asking you to do a bank reconciliation from the table that's provided. Mine is taking a second to load. But it's the table you're going to go through and you're just going to answer those as well. So that takes us through our practice for Chapter 8. And I will be available for anyone that has questions to make sure that you're comfortable with the material. Um, let's take a look again, looking kind of back at our schedule. Oh, here it is. Never mind. Okay, so this is just taking us. It's showing you the bank statement balance, the book balance, total deposits in transit, the cash received by different dates, some different bank fees that are happening, outstanding checks, and it's asking you to do the what is the bank balance, what is the book balance, how much cash interest was received, and then what are the bank charges. So it's just following along and doing the tables like you have done before. All right, so again, that wraps up our chapter 8. Um, I would say, for this unit, the biggest thing is going back and making sure that you're comfortable with chapter 6, 7, and 8. Remember, you do have the review document here that it's going to help you prepare for the exam. And then I just want to take a minute to kind of go through, what the expectation is for next week. So on Tuesday, or I'm sorry, on Monday or Tuesday, the first day of the class, you are going to be looking at the review information. And then you should plan for your second day of class, whether that's Wednesday or Thursday, to go in and actually do your exam. The exam is not due until the Friday, but plan some time during your regular class time to get that done. And then the following week, we will be looking at chapter 9, which is adding some information into receivables and how they're handled. So we'll meet for that one that following week. And if you have any questions in between now and then, please feel free to reach out. But for week 11, there are no live sessions because that week you are going to be doing your review, which is out there. Remember, you have the Quizlet and you have the Kahoots available to you. So that's out there for your review. And then you should be doing your exam. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to send an email. I am happy to help in any way I can. If you have questions related to chapter 7 or 8 homework, send me an email. We can set up a time to do a Zoom. I'll make myself available for the time that works for you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, definitely reach out.